with what love the Spirit of God is charged. Coming from the center sun of insular space, or from deep within our heart, the radiance and vibrancy, the joy and the overflowing of the Father comes into the life of the Son. The Son feels alone. The words of the Master Jesus help us to envision this. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? There are many moments in our life as we journey along when we feel forsaken by God. We wonder where God is. Does he care? Can he contact us? Can we contact him? And in those moments, human words, human comfort seems to fail. We do not always understand that the Father is testing us even as he tested Jesus. The withdrawal of this mighty eternal light, of the eternal presence from the heart of Jesus that occurred on Golgotha's hill was an occasion. And by the way, there was an experience that came to Jesus in Gethsemane too, where he sweat these great drops of blood. But I'm thinking primarily of Golgotha's hill and of the feeling of aloneness that came to him that caused him to cry out. This is an initiatory experience that comes in the life of every man at one time or another, that will come sometimes more often than once in a lifetime to some on the path who have cried out to God and said, help me to finish up this time. I don't want to keep coming back again and again and again. And this seems a bit different than the cry of the Bodhisattva. For his cry is, O God, I will return as many times as my brothers need me. I will come back again and again and again to help out in the business of cleaning up the world, of teaching the law by example and by word, of being where necessary a silent emissary, of doing thy will. This is the cry of the Bodhisattva. Contrast it then with the cry, O Lord, how long? O Lord, how long? How long must I go through this round of being born, of growing up without knowing what is expected of me, of becoming a rude child of nature, of going through life and wondering what it's all about, and taking a chance that perhaps I will not be rejoined with my brethren. This is one of the great soul tragedies that seizes the soul when the soul is gathered around the portals of birth, waiting to be reborn, and all of the pleasant and beautiful smiling faces are there at that moment of birth. And many of these that come are only coming to the station to see the beloved one off. They are not going through the veil to take that plunge into mortal embodiment. And so the fond goodbyes are said as those who have formed these beautiful friendships of the soul at higher octaves in the schools of the masters, between embodiments, the classmates, come to see the one beloved off. And they say, I hope I see you again. But they're not so sure. And the one tremblingly going through the veil is not so sure either. Will he be able to accomplish the mission? Will he be able to fulfill the pledges that he made in high honor before the high altar? Will the realities that have become so familiar to him, his great cosmic values be lost when he mingles in this strange, non-utopian crowd. He wonders. And then, of course, the moment of parting comes, and he plunges through the veil, and then memory fades. However, throughout babyhood, there are times that the smiling countenances of the angels, of the cosmic beings and the classmates and friends on the other side, are actually still with one. We all probably have lingering memories of these bright moments. But now we come into physical form. And now, after having attained maturity, a relative maturity, we find ourselves face to face with, for the first time, feeling absolutely alone. Where is God? We can't sense him. Our whole sense of values, the value system that we have based our life on, is gone. For a moment it's warped. The perspective is no more. And then we are tested to see what we have on the shelf inside. We cannot borrow from our neighbors. We cannot evoke at that specific moment the divine assistance so ordinarily available to us. We are waiting now upon the accumulated storehouse of our own identity, the factors of life that we have made our own. And this is as it should be. We've been carried on the back of God through the air. We've soared like a fledgling, with the Father always underneath waiting to catch us. And now we are out on our own. And it is meet that this great bird, this cosmic bird of reality, should hide. His face should not be available to either see our failure or our success, because it will be our failure or our success, not his failure or his success, because he has no failures. He has only success. We must be willing to pass this test, because without it, we can never really know this God who loves us so much. Through being alone, just for a few moments even, we develop a greater awareness. You know, absence makes the heart grow fonder. But in this case, it's an absence from the reality of God. And then, suddenly, the Lord will return to his temple. And again we read in the sacred writings of the suddenness of this activity. Well, dear hearts, the word sudden is a code word. It denotes the impact of the divine upon us. It would be a little difficult to explain it any other way. The Lord comes suddenly to his temple. It happens just now, right now. And so I urge upon all of you the understanding that when the human mind fails in its grasp of the infinite, that you try to understand that the human mind could never grasp the infinite. Do not expect it to grasp the infinite. Because although you may have perfect vision, through the sunlit air you can only see so far. And then it all fades into the blue. And this is because you are dealing with infinity. With God, however, there is no limitation. So then we find that we no longer depend upon the sensory perceptions we have. Our eyes, our ears only hear so far, and this is as it should be. For limitation was built into man as a blessing of God. How would it be if we could hear them chattering on Mars and discussing price controls and all these other things? How would it be if we could hear it in our next door neighbor's house? What a great blessing it is that God has established limitation to our physical realm, because the physical realm moves in a circle where others also live besides ourselves. And if all of us had the capacity to make so much noise that the whole universe would be shaking. It would be a very sad thing for all the rest of us. And so limitation is only the great graciousness of God as he expands space so as to give us all Lebensraum. We all have living room, a place to breathe and grow. And when we attain our maturity and our majority and our unity with him, then you see he will increase our senses and we will be able to adjust to it. You know, beloved Jesus has a most magnificent capacity which every ascended master has, and that is the capacity to create a luminous presence. Many of you have not thought about this, but to create a luminous presence. This means that the Christ could be prayed to by a little child in Pakistan, by a little boy down in Brazil, by a little girl over in Alaska, by someone out in Los Angeles, and simultaneously at the exact moment in time and space that their prayer was rising up like sweet incense, the Christ could make 4 or 5 or 5 million luminous presences. And these luminous presences would hold the same reality and sense of what was going on that he himself had when he came through the door suddenly and said, "Be of good cheer, it is I." In other words, the capacity to multiply your being and have contact and hold contact with 1 million or all the people on a planet all at once. Isn't that a wonderful capacity? It is a capacity which you can grow into. I remember many years ago, a very dear soul was very close to me in Minneapolis, and she got on a streetcar or a bus, and she said that I got on also, and she tapped me on the shoulder, and then I disappeared. Well, I was not aware at the moment that this had happened. But this happens from time to time, that we who are here in the flesh, through the help of the masters, learn how we can be in more than one place at a given time. Well, of course, if you're interested in playing the gaming tables at Monte Carlo or Las Vegas, or if you just want to have a ball, if that's all you're interested in, is just having a good time, then stay away from the witchcraft activities of just trying to practice bilocation for a sport. Remember that every divine faculty that is given to man is given to man for the glory of God, and that in reality man is God. Because man is God, he should strive to glorify the real that is in himself, which God put there. And in order to do this, we cannot practice magic or self-love. We dare not practice something that is designed to make us better than our neighbor. We should always strive to practice the gift of the highest love to humanity. Give the highest love to yourself. Stop self-condemnation. Stop judgment of yourself. Stop criticism of yourself. Realize that self-criticism is a most dangerous business. Now I realize that people make mistakes. And when you make a mistake, I do not say that you should say of this mistake, "Oh, this is all right. I won't criticize myself. Mark said don't criticize myself, so I won't do it." That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the old days, about things that are lingering back 10 or 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago, and sometimes 5 minutes ago. I don't say that you shouldn't evaluate your actions, your conduct from time to time, but don't get caught up in it with rigor mortis. Don't just die on something that you did. Realize it was a mistake and then forget it. Make up your mind you will not repeat that performance again. But if perchance, because of human habit and the entrenchment of human habit, you do make another mistake, don't fall down and give up. Keep right on going. You are here to win your mastery. Your mastery cannot be won in 1 day or 1 hour. And it's doubtful if you could win it in a lifetime. But you can win toward it, percentage-wise, you can win a big portion of it. And I know that people like the great yogi Milarepa actually won their complete victory and complete freedom in one embodiment. So it can be done. But the price is very high. Of course, if you are willing to pay it, then no one should stand in your way. If you're not willing to pay it, or if you find that what you have bit off is more than you can chew, be a discreet student. Remember that discretion is ever the better part of valor. And if you have to back up one step in order to go forward 5 or 10, do not hesitate to back up a step by saying, well, I meant to do that. I was going to meditate 5 hours. I was going to meditate 4 hours. I was going to meditate 50 minutes. I was going to meditate 10 minutes. But now I find after meditating for a half hour that I'm so tired I can't keep my eyes open. Well, for goodness sakes, don't sit there and open the door to the psychic. Don't allow all kinds of things to come into your mind that shouldn't come there. When you reach a point where you see you cannot maintain your mind on God any longer, turn around and say, Father, into thy hands I commend my being. I thank you for this moment of communion. It's been sweet. Help me to make it longer in line with my goals in the future. You see what I mean? Learn to adjust yourself to the circumstances of life. And remember that you can always try the stretching process. This means that one day you meditated 7 minutes, the next day you meditate 8, the next day 9, the next day 10. And sometimes you're going to have to come to a plateau where you're going to have to stop a little while and not keep adding another minute every day. You see what I mean? Now, of course, if you want to be like Milarepa and sit there and eat nettles and live in a cave and be walled up inside of the cave and meditate on God through force, make your mind up, that's it, and you're willing to even die in that cave, and you don't care about anything else but having your victory, of course you can do this. I happen to believe, and I have the support of Saint Germain on this, that we need people today to work in the outer world. We need people to minister to the practical necessities of life for people who need to be taught God truth. If I were to withdraw up here to Pikes Peak and sit in the lotus posture 8 or 10 hours a day and decide by going into samadhi a certain number of hours, and in time I could revivify all of the atoms of my physical body until I could actually make my ascension or go into the light, this would be fine for me. But I remember very well the young man who had become a conscientious objector up in Hayward, California, and he came over to meet me at the instigation of some of our good friends that are here, and he turned to me, and this is the rather snobbish, pseudo-intellectual thing that he said to me. He said, all right, and by the way, folks, I hadn't said anything. He said, all right, if you're so good, he said, why are you still down here on this earth? Why aren't you up there if you're so good? And I didn't know what to say to him. And Master Moria stood by my side and he whispered in my ear. And he says, just tell him that we don't want to skim off all the cream. Which is exactly what I told him. And he didn't have any more to say. He said, well, excuse me, I got to be going. And he went. But remember that life has to be practical. You have to have the pork and beans. Now, I don't mean that you vegetarians who might take offense at this, that I mean you have to kill little pigs. What I'm talking about is there has to be something to take care of the outer man, something for the mind, something for the soul. For while you have a body, you must nourish it properly. While you have a mind, you must give it a certain degree of culture. While you have a soul that is your own, that God gave you, you should use it to develop it and develop the body of light for His kingdom. So what I wanted to do tonight is just to touch upon the high aspects of cosmic initiation and relate these things to the practicality of helping our neighbors and the thousands and millions of people in the world that need the light that the masters have to give. They need you. I can think of many of the group directors that are here. And I can think of the people from the various groups and the decrees that are going on day after day. I think of it almost as the scriptures say, day unto day uttereth speech, and night after night uttereth knowledge. It's as though each little ball of light activity was coming out as a star in our own crown. And this is the way it is. It is not a matter of human deceit. I am telling you God's honest truth, that as you sow, so shall you reap. And there are millions who need your help. And when you become perfect, as God has said you shall be, then if you want to choose to stay here, to help humanity, this is your privilege. You don't have to graduate. Or if you graduate, you can say, well, Father, I want to stick around and take a postgraduate course down here instead of taking it up there. Or could I help my fellow men? I do not think your plea will be rejected. How could God refuse? So try to remember the practicality of this. Try not to become so visionary that your life is a useless paper bag that wouldn't hold anything. You've got to have some weight to yourself. You've got to have something to offer. You are all being tested. Be grateful for being here. Let the gratitude from your heart flow into all of the problem areas of your life, and you will be amazed at how much dominion you can take over yourself. And if you can lick yourself, you can lick anybody, because most of us are our own worst enemies. We know it, and we can do something about it the minute we know it. So let us hold fast then to that which is good. Let no man take our crown. Thank you.